Welcome everyone, and thank you for being a member at myfinancesteacher.org. I really do appreciate that. So looking at cryptos in this video, clearly cryptos have been quite disappointing since at least mid-November, when Bitcoin was close to $69,000. In mid-January that was somewhere around $33,000. Quite a lot of volatility with this downtrend. So as I mentioned in one of my previous looks at crypto, I do expect a bit of a sideways cycle. After a lot of volatility, experience shows me that there is often a chance of a bit of a cool down in volatility with a bit of a sideways cycle. We see this in summer last year, a lot of volatility in April and a sideways cycle. We see this with the pandemic drop and a quick recovery, followed by again a sideways cycle. The end of the previous bear market into the end of 2018, again a drop from 6,000 to 3,000 with even a couple of sideways cycles there. So as periods of high volatility often follow periods of low volatility, I expect a bit of a sideways cycle this time. And yeah, by the way, I think, was it Nick who pointed out previously to this potential head and shoulders formation? By then it was a potential formation, as perhaps Nick pointed to that sometime in December. And you were absolutely right. Bitcoin continued to drop all the way down to around $33,000. Despite all of those record inflation numbers for November and December, we saw 30-year record inflation numbers following trillions of dollars being printed. Despite that, this head and shoulders formation has played out. And what's going to happen in the remainder of the cycle is perhaps another couple of days to poke below the Bollinger Bands a couple of times, followed by a bit of a relief rally, maybe up to the previous lows, somewhere around $40,000, maybe to the middle of the Bollinger Bands, again somewhere around $41,000, before cycle drops down into the cycle low. So far the cycle is 29 days old. Usually these cycles last for around a couple of years. Looking at a few interesting indicators, here's a market depth ratio, where the red area indicates that there are more sell orders rather than buy orders on a range of crypto exchanges. Green area is just the opposite. The gray line is the price of Bitcoin. So instead of looking at this longer term view, let's just zoom into the last 3 months, see what's the behavior of this indicator even within this downtrend. So as Bitcoin has been in the downtrend, even the buy pressure from these green mountains often is not enough to produce the bounces. For example, anywhere over here when the buy pressure is between 10 to 20%, when the green mountains are pretty low, Bitcoin continues down. So it's only when the buy pressure reaches above 30%, even closer to 40%, that's when Bitcoin produces some sort of a cycle low and bounces into a new cycle. And what we see right now is the buy pressure is somewhere around 30%, perhaps another couple of days of sideways to down in Bitcoin price to raise this buy pressure closer to 40% before a bit of a bounce takes place. Next, let's have a look at the crypto fear and greed index. Again, usually historically over a longer period, when this crypto fear and greed index drops somewhere below 30, that's when a bit of a cycle low usually takes place. But let's zoom in again over the last 3 months. Within the most recent downtrend, it hasn't been enough for crypto fear and greed index to drop below 30. Usually below 20 is when some sort of a bounce is ready to start. So right now the crypto fear and greed index is at 20. Again, we want to see this below 20 for a bit of a bounce. So perhaps another couple of days of sideways to down in Bitcoin price before a relief rally up to maybe 41,000. Next, looking at the Bitcoin optics, optimism index is pretty low right now, below 20. But the green line, the 10-day moving average of the optics, is still above 40. So zooming in most recently within this downtrend line, it's only when this 10-day moving average of the optics came down to below 30, that's when we saw a bit of a bounce in Bitcoin price. A bit of a bounce in mid-December within the previous cycle, and a bit of a bounce again in late January within the ongoing cycle. So again, perhaps another couple of days of pretty low optimism on Bitcoin to bring the 10-day moving average of this optics further down before a bit of a bounce. In the longer term still, personally, I am holding all of my cryptos, but that of course works if you don't really need any of that invested capital to cover any of the ongoing expenses. So as you see from the small screenshots I post from my actual trades with the brokerage account, I don't take any leverage, missing out on some potential explosive gains, but I can hold the position over longer term if the conviction is there. But of course, I'm often wrong as well. That Mary J marijuana position has turned out to be quite a bad trade. But with cryptos in the longer term, even if we are in a bear market right now, with my personal holdings, I don't really have any need to sell any of the cryptos in the cold storage. Plus, I do like some of the yield provided by some of those cryptos, if not by Bitcoin, perhaps by Hex and by Harmony One. Talking about Harmony One, it's been quite painful recently as well, but it's getting close to a couple of support zones. One of those support zones is based on several highs and lows. The high in late May, late August, and the low in late September, all somewhere around 12 cents. Right now, Harmony One is at around 13.5. So one pretty attractive support zone is somewhere between 12 to 12.5 cents. The next support zone below that, although I do think Harmony One is going to bounce from this 12.5 cents, but the next support zone below that is based on the July high as well as the September low. That's somewhere around the 9.5 to 10 cents. Again, I do like the project. I've read the white paper. I've shared my views on that with you guys in one of the older posts. I do like the yield potential with Harmony One. And I do like that there is a potential for Harmony One to become a deflationary coin. That's only if there is enough use of this coin. That's because the total reward to validators, that's including additional newly issued tokens as well as transaction fees, is capped. So if the transaction fees reach that cap, there will be no new issuance of Harmony One. That is pretty interesting fundamentally, and the RSI right now is down to oversold levels. Last time RSI was this oversold was in mid-2020, and at that time the price of Harmony One was somewhere around half a cent. Right now it is at 13.5 cents. So again, perhaps another couple of days down to bounce from this support zone as Bitcoin bounces a little bit back into the middle of the Bollinger Bands. That's all about cryptos, and I'm waiting for the US markets to open today. On Friday, I got stopped out of half of my SPY and QQQ positions. I'll update the model portfolio on that sometime soon. And I'm now working on a uranium report. I think you will find it quite interesting. So that is going to be ready in perhaps 1 or 2 days. So stay tuned and have a nice day.